This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to a special 5-part podcast series celebrating Compliance Week, which is sponsored by Convercent. If you haven't joined the Convercent Converge community, it is the most dynamic community in compliance. There are a ton of resources, commentary, Q&A, and other information which will help you, the compliance professional. So go to converge.convercent.com. I'm going to link to it in the show notes and join the Converge community. It's at no charge, and it's literally the top resource available to you in compliance. Over this 5-part podcast series, I'm going to visit with 5 Convercent folks about why they are so passionate about driving ethics to the heart of business. I know you will enjoy this series in honor of Compliance Week. My guests over this series are Philip Winterburn, Jennifer Jaffe, Stephanie Holmes, Autumn Sinelli, and Asha Palmer. I know you will enjoy them. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode, and today I have with me Stephanie Holmes, Director of Solutions Consulting. Stephanie, first of all, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Stephanie, could you tell us what a Director of Solutions Consulting does?
Yeah, so at Convercent, the solutions consulting team works very closely with the revenue organization. But interestingly enough, we have really taken the approach that we don't need to be technology experts to help our customers and help those looking to improve processes within their organization and within ethics and compliance. So we take more of that practitioner's approach. My background came as corporate investigator and compliance practitioner for a number of years before joining this role at Convercent. And so really taking that approach to partner with potential customers and customers to understand what they are doing today and how we can improve that to help them really move their programs forward. So looking forward, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, what is that ideal state down the road that we can help them get there? And technology is just one of the vehicles that we use.
So, Stephanie, as you know, this podcast series celebrates the week of Compliance Week. And what I wanted to ask you is, why are you so passionate about driving ethics to the heart of business?
Yeah, it's an interesting journey that I've been on. Originally, I started in the forensic psychology space and realized that the corporate space of ethics and compliance is really where my heart was at. And what has drawn me there and really kept me super passionate about ethics and compliance is the fact that there's so much opportunity there to grow companies to truly align with not just what's easy and not just what the top line or the bottom line is, but to do what is right. And what we've seen so many times is that when companies put ethics first and put it at the center of business, they truly excel. Ethics is a very young space compared to a lot of other industries and a lot of other professions. And so there is a huge opportunity for maturity and growth to not just get a seat at the table, but actually become strategic when you are sitting at that executive and that board level to drive businesses forward. When you think about ethics and compliance professionals, you have to think about the behavioral science behind it. With that forensic psych background, I've really come to love understanding and learning the behavior change, the positive behavior change that we can drive, not only for an individual, but within the organization as a whole. If you put on that marketer's hat, or if you put on that kind of psych hat, you can really start understanding what motivates in people. What's a layer deeper than what you're seeing, the way people are acting. So that's, driving that positive behavior change is on one side. On the other side of this, though, as compliance and ethics is a very young space, there's a lot of opportunities for us to mature the way we look at data. We want to move beyond that one-dimensional view of risk and culture and what's going on at the organization to ultimately, we throw around the term I don't want to be reactive anymore. I want to be proactive. But when you ask people, what does proactive mean? Rarely is there an easy answer to that because it can be different for everyone, but it's actually really simple. You have to look to the data. But there's a lot of data that we have that we just don't know how to unlock the power of it. And so being able to do that through your program, through not just your ethics and compliance department, but also across the organization to understand what risks do we have, but also what is our culture and what levers can we pull to mitigate risk, to improve our culture, to drive that to the center of business.
Stephanie, the message of, hope I wrote it down right, unlocking the power of your own data. Is that a message that you find resonates with your customers and Convercent's customers?
Absolutely. We often find that when we're looking at the data that many of our customers before they've joined us have access to, it's very basic. It's very one dimensional. So how many cases did you have? What's your completion rate? And so being able to start going a layer, 2 layers, 3 layers deeper than that, and accessing the data of what is the root cause of what's going on? We may have really high completion rates in training, but is that the full picture? How do we correlate that data and overlay that data with other data points? Do we have a sales team who is hitting their numbers every single quarter, but yet we have really high instances of fraud there? And if we can't look at the complete picture, we won't really understand what's going on. And so unlocking the power of your data isn't just keeping it at that surface level. It's being able to access those resources that you have internally to compare data together so you can get actually proactive and almost to a point of predictive of what's going on within the organization so you can get in front of that. And you can know exactly the steps that you need to take to make sure that when you pull this lever, you know that what's going to be expected from that.
Stephanie, unfortunately, we're near the end of our time for this episode, but I wanted to thank you for taking the time to visit with me today and sharing with me and the audience your passion around driving ethics to the heart of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Hope you've enjoyed this episode in Convercent's 5-part tribute to Corporate Compliance and Ethics Week. Please check out the Converge community. I've linked to it in the show notes. It is literally the best single resource for the compliance practitioner. Best of all, it's available to you at no charge. This is Tom Fox. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast series. This 5-part production has been a special production of the Compliance Podcast Network and Converge.